Howdy folks, and welcome back. Today we are continuing with our testing of the Brazos Bullet Company's projectiles that they were kind enough to send in here to the channel for some testing. And today we're going to be running some 38 Special and 357 Magnum with their 158 grain semi-wad cutter. These are sized 358. They are high-tech coated. We've got some new Starline brass for both the 38 Special and the 357 Magnum. We're going to be using Winchester 244. We've got our data here from the Hodgdon website. We're going to be using some Fiocchi small pistol primers with a 38 Special. The 357 Magnum is going to be getting the number 550 CCI Magnum small pistol primers. And this will be our first time on the rock chucker since moving into the new location. So we'll be priming here with the Lee Ram Prime and probably just trickling our charges because, as you can see, we're not using very much powder, so that should go pretty quickly. And we've got the old Lyman Ohas D5 scale back there ready to go. And of course we're on the legendary RCBS rock chucker today. But none of that's important compared to testing these here bullets. So as you see, once again, Brazos, 38 caliber, 358 diameter, 158 grain semi-wad cutter. Let's see what happened after I measured 10 of them at random. We both mic'd them for diameter and we put them on the scale for weight. Alright, so we've got all 10 of them. They mic'd exactly 358 diameter. And you see the weights I recorded here, there were 10 shots. Our lowest is 159.7 grains, which is a little higher than they call for at 158, but not a huge deal. And our highest weight of the day was 161.3 grains. And out of those 10 that we tested, we had an average of 160.3 grains. The total spread between our high and low was only 1.6 grains. So if we take our spread out of our average, that is less than 0.1% total variance plus or minus in your weight there. So super consistent, well done on the manufacturing process. And you can see once again, these are high-tech coated, which is basically a synthetic jacket baked on after casting. So let's go ahead and we'll start priming some brass here and just get a couple test loads ready to go. We'll go on from there. Let's get our Ram Prime installed real quick. This is probably one of my favorite ways to prime, unless I'm on the Dillon of course, but super easy. You can actually get a pretty good feel on it, even though several people say that they don't like it because you don't have any feel. But as long as you're not just jamming it in as hard as you can, then you shouldn't have any issues here. So let's try not to spill any of these. I only need 5. Number 5. And since those are the Magnums, we'll go ahead and do the 357 first. Don't roll away. Oh, there it goes. There, yep. And okay. We're recovered, no worries. So I don't have any data to back these up, but I've heard that these 550s are the exact same thing as the standard 400 small rifle primer. So apparently, you know, small rifle and Magnum pistol are similar, I guess, from CCI. But I have nothing to back that up with, just pure forum thud lore as far as everybody knows. You know, there's no truth behind it, but who knows, man. And then the Fiocchis, they're just standard small pistol primers. And as far as, you know, a nice budget friendly primer goes compared to some of the other prices, the Fiocchis, they've always gone bang for me, so they're always a good go-to, and they're not oversized or anything ridiculous like the Gen X primers are. So there we have our 5 cases of 357 Magnum loaded up, or rather primed at least. So on to the 38 Special with the standard primers. And you know, I probably should have expanded the case mouths first, but we shouldn't have any kind of issues. What side do we have open? Okay. We have 8 on each side, so that's nice and fun. I only need 5. And I kind of washed my hands recently, so I don't think I'm contaminating the primers by touching them. Probably have to have some pretty gross, greasy paws to actually contaminate a primer to make it fail from detonating. But regardless, you shouldn't try to actively touch the open anvil and the compound and whatnot, but in this situation, I don't think we're going to have any issues. Because my hands are somewhat clean. I'm not a total slob. And last one. Yeah, piece of cake. Man, I love this brand new Starline brass. Those primers feel great. Time to expand our case mouths. Now I need my expanding die because we are not on the Dillon. That is this guy. I have not used perhaps ever. I don't know if I've ever. I lied. I've done some 357 Magnum cases before. Anyways, okay, we got a nice little MTM box to store these in. But, man, don't need to store them just yet. Alright, so we're going to have to do the 38 specials and then back our die out and then do the 357 Magnums next. Because obviously the different case length will engage at a different spot and give us different amounts of flaring. Which could be horrible if you go, you know, shoving your 357 Magnums onto your 38 special setting. And all we want is enough room to get our bullet started to seat without shaving any of that polymer jacketing, the high-tech coating off. So we're not quite opening yet. Gotta get these lock rings way up here. Okay, I think I barely see a little bit of opening. So you can see this slight bell on the case mouth, and our bullet is barely starting to go. I'm gonna go maybe another quarter turn, and I think I'll call that good for these 38s. I don't want to scrape off any of this high-tech coating. I don't know how resilient it is compared to powder coating. Oh. So I want to make sure to not scrape any of that off. Yeah, that's much better. And then you can almost push the bullet in a little bit to get started, and it's got enough tension to hold it there right now. So very nice. We'll just hit these real quick. And I guess I should maybe check them all, since I haven't like measured this brass or made sure that they're all the same trim length, because if you have a longer case, it'll start expanding sooner. If you have a shorter case, it won't get enough. But I have faith in Starline from the factory. But as you can see, this one has no flare. Now we have proper flare. Very nice, all 5 of those. And then remember, we need to back way out because our 357 cases are longer, so they will engage this sooner. Okay, filter touch. Yeah, just bring her down a little bit at a time. Okay, perfect. And once again, enough just to get that started, so we're not going to shave off any of that high-tech coating. Perfect. Try out our next one. Yes, very nice. Perfect. So here's our cases. Once again, you can see that just a slight flare on the mouth, kind of trumpeting outwards to allow that bullet to slide in more easily. So now on to powder. All right, time to dump some powder, or rather trickle it up, because we're only doing a little over 3 grains. And then we'll be seating our bullets here before we move on to the 357 Magnum. So we don't need a whole lot of powder in our trickler. We've got our measure set. And you just kind of tilt and turn. Well, it was a little quick, but it's just a little bit over. Slow down, dummy. Knock out a couple pebbles there. And now this is one of these really fine ball powders with a really small charge weight, so it will be very easy to double or probably triple or quadruple charge if you're on a progressive. So be very aware of that, because 3.5 grains in a case like this size doesn't fill up very much. So out of this whole case length, we might be up to here, where you can obviously get 3 or so charges in addition to that. But we've got our powder, mouth expanded. Go ahead and get this started. And once again, your bullet should have enough tension to hold itself. But I've got my die set up to not be crimping. I'll be doing that in a separate step. And we'll just slowly work this down to an appropriate overall length, which is going to be at that crimping groove. And then we're going to want to roll crimp these in just a bit more. One more touch. Alright, so we can see that we're seated up here to the crimping groove, and once we roll crimp that in, what that's going to do is hold our bullet in place until we build sufficient pressure, so we should have a consistent ignition as well as sufficient crimp to not let our bullets get set back during recoil. So we want enough crimp, but not too much crimp to actually distort the bullet. So let's go ahead, get another one seated and see how that looks. Because sometimes if you set up your die with just a single case, this bullet might get a little deformed on the tip, so your next one's going to have a different overall length. So those are just things to look out for. And we'll set this aside until we need to crimp. So yeah, just a quick little turn on the trickler. And it goes fast. Once you see it move, stop turning, because you'll overshoot it. And just touch it up. Let's try with the funnel this time. Make sure none of your powder sticks to your funnel, because that can happen from static electricity and so on and so forth. I think that seating depth is going to be perfect. Let's get the others trickled up here. Alright, so we're all seated now. We're going to go ahead and back our seating stem way out again, and now I'm going to engage the crimp on our die here. And we'll just lower our die to engage that crimp. Maybe just a hair more, not a whole lot. And there's our beautiful roll crimp there. Should be sufficient to both build pressure as well as avoid setback from recoil, which is almost non-existent from a pretty light 38 special load. So let's hit the next one and see how those look. Perfect, let's run it. And the final test, we need to plunk them. And by plunk them, I mean drop them into your cylinder here. And you hear them click into place there. Or as Fortune Cookie says, a nice snick. That one's probably a dirty cylinder. Ha! Yeah, it's beautiful. So those all come right in, and they fall right out except the dirty cylinder. Okay, there we go. So these are ready for the range. Let's get our 357 Magnums loaded up. So we'll throw these into our ammo box here with our load data. And for the curious, there's our load data from the Hodgdon site. And onto the 357 Magnums. So we need to adjust. We'll just double check our zero here. We got our pan on there. Beautiful. And we'll go ahead and set our weight. But first, back this bad boy way out because this case is much longer than a 38 special case. So I don't want to be engaging the crimp as I'm trying to seat a bullet. So an easy way to get this set is to back way out, and then you run an empty case up there. Come down until you feel it engaging the crimp, and then just back off a half to a whole turn and set your lock ring. Now, no case is going to hit that crimp, and we can finely tune our seating stem there. All right, we've got our weight set here on the scale, and we'll just trickle it up. And once again, very fine ball powder. You're going to be able to triple charge these cases, so be extremely careful on a progressive loader. Or if you get distracted, you walk away from your bench, come back and forth, double check your powder charges. Or don't even play with powder if you have to be leaving your bench. That's just kind of silly. By the way, if I didn't notice, you can use code DUMMYROUND from Brazos to get 5% off on your first order from them. And I keep saying first order, but I just mean limit one per customer. So if it's your first time signing up from them, it will be your first order. But if you're a return customer, of course, you'll be able to use that coupon one time. So thanks for checking them out. Just do a quick search for Brazos Bullet Company and use code DUMMYROUND, one word, lowercase perhaps, maybe. And you can see the case fill barely even showing up. So again, just be aware of that. All right, we're setting this first one up here. And you can go kind of fast until you're, once again, closer to that crimp groove. That looks pretty nice right there. Let's run the others and then we'll get to crimping. Here we are, all seated, and you know the drill. Time to get crimping and out to the range, finally. So there we are, just a quick roll crimp. Once again, just enough, not too much, but these are magnums, so we do want enough to prevent that setback as mentioned earlier. Yep, perfect crimps all the way through. Good job, Starline, on your case consistency. And so real quick though, before we move on, you might notice some of these are slightly different tints of the same color. I'm not certain, but I think that has to do with either the baking time or the temperature that these were coated and cooked on. So again, I powder coat, so I'm not super familiar with these, but I'm certain that they're not different colors. It's just a different bake time. And maybe that one got cooked a minute longer or something silly like that. I'm not sure. If you guys high tech though, let us know in the comments down below. And now time to throw our data there so we know what we're shooting. So let's head out to the range real quick. We'll just pop these off, see how they look, and go from there. Stay tuned. All right, folks, we're out here on the range now. You can see I've got our 5 rounds of the 38 Special with the semi-wide cutter. And here we've got the Ruger Blackhawk and 357 Magnum. So we're gonna go with the 38 Specials first. We're here at roughly 10 yards, 10 paces. Kind of just walked away from the target and landed here. And hopefully I don't shoot the target camera. But let's see how these 5, I don't want to say group because that's a test on my skill rather than the projectile, but we'll see what kind of holes they can make in the paper. And we'll kind of go from there. All right, let's go take a look at the target. Here we are with the 38 Special. Here were my first 2 shots, and then I just kind of lost it from there. But again, these go exactly where you point them if you just point them correctly. So very nice. Let's go try out our 357 Magnums. Okay, pretty good performance with the 38 Special. Now we're going to kick it up with the 357 Magnum. Still using the same powder, but of course load data appropriate for the 357. So let's see if I can do my part and do these bullets some justice here. Going hot. And let's go check out the target. Once again, my first 2 shots were the best, and then we can see I just totally lost it from there. These loads were a bit smokier than the 38 Specials. Perhaps that's because of the higher pressure. I was kind of trying to see 38 versus 357 to test the different pressure loads. Kind of wanted to see how the high-tech would react. Seems a bit smokier, but we still have nice round holes, and I'm sure if I were aiming properly, it would have also been a much better group. But overall, not too bad performance here. Let's get back inside and take a look at our brass. Back inside here on the bench, taking a look at our 38 Special brass. Super round primers, no issues there, no signs of pressure. Although our charge was probably on the weak side. We do have a little bit of soot blowing by there, so we didn't get quite full obturation. Maybe a little more crimp, or like I said, just a bump in the powder charge might clean that up. But overall, pretty clean burning. And these bullets went exactly where I pointed them. I just have to learn how to point them more accurately. Or precisely? Which one is it? Accuracy or precision? Anyways, very nice on the 38 Special. They'll perform as good as you will. So the 357s, they were a little bit smokier as you saw outside there, but still fairly rounded edges on our primers, except maybe the one near the right side. This one may be a little flat. I'm not sure what happened there. Perhaps an extra tenth of powder or something. Anyways, no big deal. No signs of pressure here. And once again, similar markings on our case. I think if we bumped up our charge just a bit, it would clean up. So overall, still very impressed with the Brazos projectiles. If you're not into casting, but you like reloading and shooting for cheap, then this is definitely something you might want to go and check out. Just remember to use promo code DUMMYROUND for 5% off. Anyways, thanks for joining me, guys. As you see in the background here, we've got some 45 caliber stuff coming up next, so stay tuned for that, and we'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.